internally, I am so ruthlessly committed to the end goal. And that is leading women to a place of freedom and peace that they cannot get through wealth and money. These women have already made money. They know what that's like. They've lost their soul in the process, and they've compromised their marriage because their career success has been the greatest threat to their marriage.
Welcome back, Life in Abundance. We are starting to figure this out. Our guy Kevin's got 3 cameras going and a new little snazzy thing where he can edit as we go. So we're figuring it out. He just led us with a bad joke to start the podcast. So I don't know where this is going today.
The intro was bad.
The intro was bad, yeah.
Or should we say soft?
Soft.
As Kevin's joke went.
Yeah, he's really laughing. Had to be here for that. But so we had a great week last week. We went down to our coaching program, our class that we participate in, Bree and I. And it's always, how do I say it? It's kind of like church for us.
Yeah. You
go there not really knowing that like you're going there for a reason, but then you always leave there being like, wow, I did not expect that. And I did not, it was way more than I anticipated. Right. Yeah. And so what we had to do this week was we had to narrow down who we were talking to, because if you're talking to everyone, you're really talking to no one. Mm-hmm. And so I figured out that I kind of knew mine was married men with kids that are entrepreneurs that are on the brink of divorce or that want more in their marriage. And I know what the pain is like. I know that putting in the 70% and saying that I'm doing 100%, right? It's like, tell my wife that I'm committed to all this. And in reality, it's like, I'm not really that committed.
It's in the eyes of everybody else. It looks like you're doing the work and all the things, but internally, you're really not fully committed like you're claiming.
Yeah. And so that's going to kind of lead us into what we're going to be talking about today is on the exterior, you are committed. And on the inside, you're like, man, I need to do more. I know I could do more. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of insecurities around that because on the outside, you look like you're all put together. You have the Instagram kind of life. And that's something Bree and I have both struggled with in the last probably 4 or 5 months going into a new business, going into this coaching program, is that we had to literally gut our insides every day, every week, every month, and just put it all out there and be like, hey, what do we need to change and make better to make our inside match the outside? Mm-hmm. And so what did you get, babe, from this week, and how's that tie in?
Well, it's funny because I was not a meditator before this. I did enough on the outside so I could say I did it, right? I meditate 3 times a week. Let's
just say this. Bree does not sit still or not have a device in her hand at any time during the day 24/7.
Yes, I'm productive with every minute.
So, productive. Yeah, that could be the word. Mm-hmm. I'll leave that one right there.
It depends on who we're comparing myself to.
Yeah.
I'll let you think about that one.
Yeah.
Okay, so
if I keep pressing this is going nowhere good. So I'm thinking to myself, do I want to get a fight on a podcast? I'm like, I'm thinking about it, but I'll let you go.
Okay, so I don't enjoy meditating. It's a struggle for me, and I'm learning to become good at it. So I was doing enough. The commitment externally looked like I was checking the box 3 times a week, 5 minutes a day. Easy. Enough for me to check the box. And I had a coaching call with our coach who just point blank said, Bree, how are you going to lead people to meditate when you yourself cannot meditate? I'm like, nope, he's absolutely right. I'm going to have to figure that one out. So I started meditating from that conversation every day, 5 minutes for a week. Then I increased my meditation time to 7 minutes. And just yesterday, increased my time to 10 minutes. So what I'm learning through this is you are capable what you allow. Like the process for me to meditate just requires me to have my kids handled so I get some time, quiet, protected time. And I wasn't asking for that because it seemed like a big ask. And in all reality, I just it wasn't that important to me until I saw the value in it. and I started to meditate, and then I made it such a part of my routine in just 2 weeks that now I can't continue in my day without doing it. It's part like breathing. It's something you do. It's something you don't really think about. Yes, there's extensive effort that I have to take to make sure my kids are handled, and I can do that for a few minutes. But regardless, it's something that I look forward to now, not something I dread. So for me, I did enough to check the box. And in meditation, when I became disciplined with it leading up to our council meeting down in Dana Point, I felt this heaviness coming through meditation, like some release or breakthrough is going to happen for me and Mark at this class. And it very much so is like church, because there is a lot of talk about God and your being and just becoming completely in tune with that of what it is or what it isn't. And for me, I had to recognize some really hard truths in the past in our council classes of me not going fully in, me trying to control some situations, still thinking that I had the least bit control and not fully lean in my faith. And so I've had to go through these self-checks so many times. So it feels like a little piece of me is slowly dying every time I go down to Dana Point to these classes. And it's revealing to me a new sense of identity each time. And as I surrender these things that are not really in my control, but I feel like I have to have control of, and I lean into my faith into God, I'm doing all the things and so becoming so committed to them because I got a little taste of that sweet fruit. Mm-hmm. And it makes you not want to then waver. I will not give up my meditation because I know in doing so, the trade-off for giving it up for somebody else's convenience or the, logistics of my family or whatever it may be, the consequence for me is far greater than just making it happen. And I knew going to Dana Point, we were going to experience a breakthrough because that came to me through meditation. So almost leading up to it, I was so desperate for it. I was so desperate for it. On a coaching call this week, I actually explained it like this. When you are pregnant, you're 9 weeks pregnant or 9 months pregnant, you are so ready for the end, but you are freaking terrified for that baby to come out of your body however it's meant to exit. There's this anticipation leading up to it that's so scary, but you are so ready that you will overcome the fear, no problem, because you are so ready to meet this baby and so ready to get your body back, so ready to sleep again. Which is kind of comical because my kids still don't sleep.
Yeah, that's a joke.
You just are so ready. You're in this desperate state for, oh God, okay, it's safe for them to come now. Any minute, I am ready. I am so desperate for it. And as I sat in class and I came to the realization of the things that I wasn't recognizing and really fully exposing, I was so desperate for the breakthrough that I was willing to put it all on the line. I was really willing to expose it all. And the truth is that key piece for me was recognizing the deepest and darkest pain of my life that I experienced in the compromise of our marriage, in like the brokenness of our marriage, to the point where I felt so defeated because I felt that I lost myself in that place also. And so now rebirthing to be who I am now, this new identity means you have to fully expose who you were and let that die. And I was still resisting that because I was still so fearful of fully admitting how bad, how deep and dark of a place I was in. Not even between you and I, but me personally. And so as my coach just digs up stuff, exposes light to all the crap, literally, you have to own that. And I was so desperate for the ownership of it. And I believe I was led to that place in meditation through that commitment, that ruthless commitment of doing the things I needed to do. I was able to see it and receive it. Those are two very different things. A lot of times going into these things, I pray for the ears to hear, the eyes to see, but the heart to receive it. And that's so powerful when you come to that place, just like when you have your baby. You're so desperate. You're willing to take her however God wants to bring her into this world. You're just so desperate for that encounter.
Yeah, I mean, that's very well said because for so long, I posted this quote the other day, and it said, "The facts will set you free, not the truth." And so much of my life, I was looking at what I thought was truth, and in reality, it was a lie. And the facts of it did not line up with what I wanted or where I wanted to go. And the easiest one to look at is your body, because you can see it. You can see if people are in shape, not in shape. And I was telling myself for so long, I'm doing a good job. I'm in good enough shape. I can outwork anyone. But then my body didn't show it because I was beating it up with alcohol. I was eating crap on the weekends. I was the typical, like, Monday through Thursday good, and then Friday through Sunday just like let it rip. And I was and I wasn't showing up how I should, and I was lying to myself, but I was making it a truth. And in turn, my facts were like really skewed. And when you start looking internally at a lot of things that you're not doing in your marriage, like I wasn't going on date nights. If I was going on date nights, I was going with other people. If I didn't have to communicate with my wife, if I didn't have to like sit across from her and actually have I had the hard conversations of like the things I weren't doing. But when you start looking at those things and you start digging into the facts of your life, that's what we measure success off of, not truth, because everyone's truth is different. Like, you can have two politicians talking and they think their truth is right, but show me the facts. And that's been the biggest thing with, you can fake a lot of things externally, but internally, until you get down to the facts, until you get down to the truth of it, it's not really going to matter. And for a long time, I was so surface. I was so like, well, I'm going to do what makes me feel good.
You mean remove the truth and only digest the facts, operate off of the facts. Yeah,
operate off facts instead of what your truth is. Because a lot of times our truth is wrapped up in a bunch of lies.
Molded to be what looks good on the external and not really be the facts of your
like
life. Yeah.
I was raised like alcohol's bad. Like, and that was a truth I had. Growing up, I thought alcohol was bad. Like, if you drink alcohol, you're going to hell. That's what I thought. And that was a truth I had. And the problem with that it wasn't a fact. Like, the fact is, should you not overdrink alcohol? 100%. But the fact is, if you have alcohol, you're not going to hell. Like, and that was my truth I had. And those are a lot of things. I know it sounds kind of a funny example, but it's down to that simple, that things that we were taught, or the way we were raised, or the way our parents taught us, whatever it was, is that we have all these truths that we think are truth, but they're not facts. And so when you can look at the fact of your life and where you're at, but it's hard to do because it's way easier to revert to comfort, where you don't have to have the hard conversations with your wife. You don't have to have the hard conversations with your buddies or your clients. It was like I did a Instagram live today where it's like, how much do you value yourself? Because when you devalue yourself, you can't value your clients, you can't value your wife, your friends. The more that you value you, and the more you can be honest with you and look at the facts of your life, the better husband you are, the better friend you are, the better father you are. All those things elevate, all because you get really, really raw with what's going on inside and not necessarily on the outside.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you feel is something in our marriage that you were making a truth and not operating on facts about, that you found once you realized was like, whoa, this got here fast and I didn't realize it?
That we were good.
Yeah.
Like that we were like, we did more than most, right? Like, we had business, like we hosted parties, we had people over at the house all the time. We like had nice cars. We like had it all. Like, we had like the Instagram life. And the problem with that is that I had never actually seen my wife. Like, I never like saw her and the pain that I was causing by me doing what made me happy and not what God wanted me to do. And I remember in July of last year being on stage and our coach just kind of ripping us apart in the sense of like exposing me. And I saw my wife for the first time about how good we were not, how bad it was. And yes, it has gotten better 100%, but I didn't realize how much pain I caused in my actions and in my feelings. I never saw my wife because I never took the time to ask her. Like I never, I don't want to say I never cared enough because that's kind of sounds kind of mean, but I was so consumed with my emotions that, yeah, I guess I didn't care enough.
It wasn't relevant.
Yeah, it wasn't relevant because I was so worried about me. I was so worried about my insecurities because I wasn't doing what was required on the inside. I was doing all I wanted on the outside. I was in the flesh, right? They talk about that in the Bible. It's like to be of the flesh or to be of the spirit. Flesh, you don't have any peace. Spirit, you have peace. And I was so of the flesh. I was so doing what the world wanted to do, was if it was watch Netflix, drink, look at porn, do those things, to where when I try to have a conversation with my wife, or my wife try to have a conversation with me, I couldn't see it. And it took me being in July, listening to God 4 months prior to that, saying, hey, you need to stop drinking. And then I stopped drinking. I stopped looking at porn. I stopped being of the flesh and more of the spirit. And then I actually saw my wife. I could hear my wife and the pain that I had caused. And I could adjust from there, because most people are living so much in the flesh that when someone tries to talk to them or their wife tries to talk to them, it's just like a fog.
Defense.
It's defense, or it's a wall, because they just don't see it. Because, I always use this example, but when someone's doing the work and you press on them, they're like, hey man, thank you, but I'm doing the work. When people are not doing the work and you press on them, they get mad, they get angry, they get defensive, whatever it might be. And that's when you can't see your wife, you can't see your friends. I couldn't hear my wife. And then it took my wife saying, hey, I'm out of here. My bags are packed. You figure it out. You make yourself better. It took that level of like, oh shit, for me to go, okay, I need to work on some things. And then it still took another probably year after that for me to fully be able to see the pain that I had caused. And it was a really weird situation. It was one of the best days of our lives. It probably has changed our life forever, that day.
I would say yes.
But it's also one of the days where I'm like, I will probably never forget, because I was like, holy shit. And it rocked me.
It was
pretty
painful.
hard.
Yeah. To expand on that, as Mark said, we had all the things. We had the businesses, the cars, the house, the kids, the Instagram life that looked perfect. But even like a harder position we put ourselves in is we also did all the things. We went to church, we prayed together, we hosted family dinner, we hosted the prayer, we did all the things that you thought you do as the American family to have this dream, whatever that is, to then recognize the deepest things that mattered the most were what we were lacking. And that was a connection, raw honesty, being vulnerable, admitting when we were wrong. We couldn't do those hard things because we were so of the flesh.
Yeah, I think what I was trying to transform myself through the world. But what I realized is the only way you can truly transform is through God, me, and everyone else after that. Like, I cannot transform myself through other people or the world. I have to do it through God. And I was trying to transform myself into self-help books, Instagram, motivational reels, people firing me up, meeting with people. But at the end of the day, if I don't lean into habits and routines and stop lying to myself and lean into God, it's not going to work.
I think that was my point too, in talking about the meditation and how hard it was for me, because I was still trying to kind of keep control of these things that were not mine. God made it very clear. Until you surrender that, you are not going to experience this breakthrough. Until you surrender your will and fully embrace mine, you're not going to experience that true transformation. The shift in identity for me is like a bloodbath. Every 4 weeks, I am voluntarily signing up for. I go down to Dana Point in this class to be completely exposed and relive it all over again, so that it clicks, so that I don't go backwards. I am so internally, ruthlessly committed to the journey that a lot of things I have had to sacrifice and surrender to make this shift. I just got a testimonial actually from my client today. Just voluntarily woke up this morning and just told me what an impact this program has made in her life. In the transformative experience that I offer with my clients, it is 100% business focused until now. That was my entry point. Because that's what every woman, they think they want, is I need to learn how to make more money. And then I also want a really good life. That was me too. Until I surrendered that and I embraced, wait a minute. I want an unshakable relationship with God. I want a marriage so deeply connected and on fire and with so much passion. So much passion. I want a relationship with my children like that I've always wanted but never given the effort or the energy to. I want to have control over my body and be healthy at a level that's more than internal. Physically, I want to be healthy. I want to be strong. My commitment is, I am so ruthlessly committed to this because I know on the other side of that, if I compromise in the slightest bit, I go backwards. And it's another bloodbath ahead that I have to relive all over again. Internally, I am so ruthlessly committed to the end goal. And that is leading women to a place of freedom and peace that they cannot get through wealth and money. These women have already made money. They know what that's like. They've lost their soul in the process, and they've compromised their marriage because their career success has been the greatest threat to their marriage. They also feel like they're dying through the process to build this machine, this target, this dollar. Meanwhile, everything else has gone to shit right before your eyes. And I explained it to my coach a little bit like a slow bleed. It's like watching something slowly happen that's leading you down a path that is destructive. Why would you voluntarily do that? And I did it for so many years. But now that I have a clear vision, now that I can see that woman that died right before my eyes so slowly, a slow death for chasing the dollar, chasing the dream, chasing the career, to have all the things and check all the boxes and be this picture perfect Instagram. How dumb. Now what I want more is what's deeper. And those are the type of women I want to coach. Those are the women that are greedy for more on every level. You want a better relationship with God that is unshakable. You want a marriage that is on fire, full of passion, that is unshakable. You want to be respected in your workforce because you truly do have created a life that most people always dream of, but could never obtain because they're not willing to do this. Die to their old self, reborn in a new identity of what life is going to look like for them. And I'm doing this every day. So it becomes a lot easier for me to lead people from the place that I am living of slowly dying every day to my old self and being reborn, surrendering what I want for what God wants. And the power in that, the impact that you have there, unlike anything you've ever produced in your career path. It's a completely different level of success. And there are not many people that can do it. But the woman I am, the woman I coach, she doesn't just do it. She does it good. And it's what everybody else around her notices. Her confidence and her certainty is unmatched. And there is power in that.
As we say in Warrior, 2 claps and a boom. I mean, she did a good job, and that was really good. It's Bree's going after the CEO wife that has it all, but on the inside is dying. I'm going after the man who has the business, that has the kids, that has the life, but is bored. That is that is comfortable. And the greatest thing is what I found eternally, to become on fire and to know exactly what you want in life, to have that passion for your wife that you haven't had in years. I remember we've been married 17 years, be 18 this year. And in July, in about August, September, I could actually like close my eyes and like visualize my wife and like get excited, like passionate. And I had never had that for years because I filled my mind with garbage and I was bored. And what I have found is there's breakthrough in the boring, but you choose the boring. I used to choose bored as with alcohol, Netflix, like things that the flesh wanted.
Of zero
substance.
Yeah.
And when you start doing boring of what the spirit wants, like take care of your body, not putting garbage in your body, not filling your mind up with garbage, but filling your mind up with things that make you better, that add value to your life, pushing yourself in business, like making the phone calls that you don't want to make, doing the boring stuff. I love my morning routines and my daily routines. It's so boring, but it's a good boring because I know exactly how I'm going to feel and the outcome of it. I know getting up at 4:30 every day and stacking and doing my post and doing my Instagram stuff and making the phone calls, going to the gym, talking to the people, because that is boring, but it gives me peace on the inside. And what a lot of men struggle with is that they have boredom, which leads to things that do not add any value to their life. That's why they go to strip clubs. That's why they stay out and they gamble and they drink and they go play golf on Fridays and they do those things that are great, but they add zero value to your life. If you
Are they great?
Well, they're great at the time, in the moment.
Make you happy.
Make you happy. And what I've learned is the things that make you happy do not typically make you free and give you peace. Like things that make you happy short term do not give you long term peace and freedom. Me having too many drinks makes me happy short term. Long term does not give me peace and freedom. I wake up the next day with regret and anxiety of why did I do that, and it fucks up my body for a couple days, and then I got to start all over again. Me not making that phone call to that client to have a conversation that might be awkward to me, but maybe not them, or maybe both of us, that does not make me happy, but it gives me long-term peace and freedom. Me watching Netflix makes me happy short term. Long term does not give me peace and freedom because I know there's things I should be doing other than that. And so what I realized, I thought I wanted happiness. And that's when my marriage was the worst. Because I wanted to do what Mark wanted to do. I want to be happy. Happy is going golf, drinking, gambling, watching the TV shows, hanging out with the buddies, which are all great. But if that is all that you're trying to do and you're not bettering yourself to give you peace and freedom, you're going to find yourself in a deep, deep pit, which is where I found myself and where I found my marriage to be not where I want it to be. And when I do boring that is going to give me peace and freedom, that's the question I ask myself. And that's what I told my clients. I said, hey, when you do something, like if you're trying to lose weight and you want to have pizza, is that short-term happiness or is that going to give you long-term freedom? Short-term happiness, not long-term freedom. It's things that are that simple. Yeah. Like, hey, scrolling through Instagram, it's great, gives me short-term happiness, but should I be doing this? Probably not.
Yeah.
I got pissed the other night because my 10-year-old came in and she wanted me to go snuggle with her. And I said, I'll be in there. And I ended up texting a client, and then I went on Instagram and I was scrolling, and she's like, are you scrolling? I'm like, go to bed. I'm like, it's not your business. You're 10 years old. Get in bed. And she was right because I was called out on my BS. Because I wasn't adding value. Adding value would be being there with my daughter, snuggling, praying, telling a joke, because she doesn't like to go to bed. She likes to talk about her day finally. Yeah. At 9:30 at night rather than 3:30 when you pick her from school. But another story. But yeah, there is breakthrough in the boring. And it's really not boring. It's actually very peaceful and it's very freeing. I can tell you that my wife and I have been more routined in things that give you peace and freedom in the last 6 months than we ever have been. And we have more peace and freedom in our relationship, in the way we communicate, in the way we connect. And we can have conversations that I never thought would be possible. without us getting mad or me getting frustrated or
A full-blown fight.
fight. And I could say things that I want from my wife now that I could never have said back then because I am doing the boring things that add value to my life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Super powerful. It positions you completely differently. I know for myself in my boring routine, I look forward to it. And I was a very routine person before anyways, but I'm so committed to it. If there's a certain part of my routine that is off, it's really hard for me to operate at my full capacity because I am so in love with my routine. It's awesome. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of power in this episode because it's some self-inventory we all need to take and be held accountable. And really, the expectation is set by yourself. What is that? Are you setting the bar too low? Because we did that for a long time. We did it just a high enough bar to look good.
Yeah.
But there was nothing deeper than that. So how we're living our life now is very differently. And Mark and I, don't get us wrong, we hosted a Super Bowl party. We had some cocktails with some friends, but nothing excessive, nothing out of control, nothing that left us with guilt and regret. It was, we still have a good time and
except
connect that
freaking
night.
Taylor Swift thing that pisses me off.
Oh my gosh.
I got a little pissed about that.
Who cares?
I don't. That's
Who cares?
that's another. I'm not even
Another
going down that.
topic
I'm not
for
going
another-
going down that rabbit hole. If you know what I mean.
Yeah. Another topic for another podcast, not this one. So anyways, on that note, we're going to end it right there. And
Break through the boring.
yeah, breakthrough in the boring. Yes, being so ruthlessly committed internally to the boring.
The boring.
I guess, yeah.
And so, what is boring is liking our podcast and liking on YouTube, subscribing, downloading. That's boring, right? No one wants to do that. But hey, it makes us look good, makes us look better, and we are all about on this podcast to look better on the outside, not the inside. That's a joke if you listen to the podcast. But if you can, give us a like on all those platforms. Give us a follow. Give us a download. That would appreciate it. That would keep Kevin, our video guy, somewhat employed. So I would like that. And thank you for tuning in. Until next time.
Bye, guys.